Welcome to my vertical obsession. Today we are talking about Backstage Love on DramaPops. So Backstage Love is about Rachel, who is a PA, and she is dreaming to be a director. So she gets told by one of the actresses, Natalie, to go and get something from her dressing room, but she ends up in the lead actor's, Logan's, room instead. Of course, after their awkward encounter, his assistant ends up walking in, and Logan tells his assistant that Rachel is the answer to their PR issues. And when Rachel comes back, Natalie starts going off on Rachel, and Logan swoops in to help her by claiming that she is his fiance. And of course, Natalie is Logan's ex, and she is not thrilled by this. So then Logan brings Rachel to him and his assistant, who make her a deal of be Logan's wife for 3 months and you'll get $500,000. And Rachel is against it completely. She's saying no, she doesn't want to, even though Logan's over here like, what do you mean no? Do you not know how many girls want to sleep with me? And she's like, well, I'm not one of them, and leaves until she gets a phone call saying that her mother is in need of treatment that costs $200,000. So she reaches out to her father and her stepmother for money to try and help her mother, but the stepmother, whose name is Ashley, refuses to help. She actually gives the father an ultimatum. It's either your daughter or me. So father chooses the stepmother, and Rachel ends up choosing the deal with Logan to get the money. But instead of taking the $500,000 that was offered, she only wants the $200,000 so that way she can pay for her mother's treatment, which when her mother shows up to the wedding and they kind of have an interaction and it's mentioned that she's sick and is in need of treatment, Logan kind of realizes that's why she only took that money. And as they're in the ceremony, Rachel's ex-boyfriend crashes with a press pass, claiming that this is all a farce and that Rachel was just with him last week and there's no way that they're actually in love and it's all just a stunt, but he ends up getting kicked out. And then you see him and Ashley, the stepmother, talking, saying that they need to figure out a way to prove that this is fake, to expose them so they can use it to blackmail to get money. And you see that Ashley and the ex-boyfriend are actually together and she is cheating on Rachel's father. And when they get back to the house after the wedding, there's this whole push-pull between the two to end up sleeping together. But then the following day, Logan's like, no, this can never happen. This has to be strictly business. Whereas Rachel's like, I'm going to take that as a challenge and we're going to see who ends up developing feelings first. So she tries to scheme and seduce him and kind of get him to feel and fall for her first. She also finds herself jealous when Logan is working with Natalie again. So then Rachel tries to make Logan jealous by hiring a trainer to help her out, and he kind of gets jealous that they're touching and he doesn't want that to happen. So there's like this little push-pull thing going on between the two. They want to admit they like each other, but they don't want to admit they like each other. And of course, while all this is happening too, Ashley is scheming to try and find a way to figure out and prove that marriage is fake, blackmail them. So at Logan's birthday party, she sneaks into the house and puts cameras everywhere to try and find proof or get them on video claiming that this is fake. And at one point, when she was watching the video, the father comes by and asks what's going on, and she's like, nothing, I'm not doing anything. But you can tell that she's very shady and there's something going on. And at the nearing of the end of the 3 months, Logan says he wants to extend it. And when his assistant asks, is it because you care for her? He's like, no, it's just good PR. Things are good. We want to continue. But it's because he's starting to fall for her. And after a fight with her dad and her stepmother, Rachel comes back and talks to Logan, and they talk about the fake marriage, but they end up getting that on film thanks to Ashley, and now she's using that to blackmail Rachel, which Rachel ends up kind of double-crossing them a little bit and getting them caught by giving them a fake watch and alerting the cops because she knew that they would try and pawn it to get money, and she didn't want to alert Logan to all this. She kind of wanted to handle it herself, but in the end, her father saw all the videos and realized that this was fake and kind of gave her an ultimatum that if he loves you, you can stay. If he doesn't, you should leave. And Logan had planned to tell her that he loved her, but chose not to because of how upset he saw her. So he figured it was better to to just let her go. While they were separated, Rachel's dad decides that they're going to move. He says, we're gonna bring your mom back, we're gonna be a family again, and we're moving to Arizona, which currently live in California. So once Logan hears that they're leaving, he goes and rushes after her to tell her that he loves her. Her to say the same thing. Only took so long for the two to finally admit that they loved each other, but they end up saying I love you, and that's kind of how it ends. But you know that they're gonna be together in the end. So it was a cute little enemies to lovers story with two different villains, but it was definitely a fun one to watch. And the two leads of this are Rebecca and Aaron, who have worked together before, and I was really kind of hoping that they would have more coming out because their chemistry together is just so great. They're one of the two people that I really enjoy getting to watch when they're paired together, because they've had 5 series now. Yeah, this is their 5th. So the first one was The Virgin and the Billionaire. We got The Ultimate Fight for Love and The Pax Doctor, which are all on Real Short. And Ultimate Fight for Love and The Pax Doctor are both interactive series, whereas The Virgin and the Billionaire is not. And then their 4th one is How to Fake True Love in 2 Weeks, which is on Short exclusive, and I want to find that one and watch it because, like I said, I enjoy these two on screen. They're one of the couples that I love seeing paired together. You know, you got Tess and Jesse, Nicole and Seth, Rebecca and Aaron. They have such great chemistry, and I love watching their series, so I always watch those ones. And it's been a bit since the Pack Doctor dropped, so I was like, are they doing more? Because I know he's been doing some, but I was hoping they would be in another one, so I was very happy to see this. And going into this a little bit, one of the things that I kind of was questioning when I was watching it was the scene when the father kind of walked in on Ashley watching the feed on her computer. It was like, did he happen to see what she was watching? And I was kind of hoping that maybe we'd get to see him pull it up and be like, she's kind of snooping on my daughter, and this is kind of weird. And I think maybe there was a little bit of that, but just off screen, because at the end you see him working with Rachel, especially when Ashley's looking for the thumb drive, and he comes out and goes, are you looking for this? So I'm like, he had to have seen it, and he knew what she was doing, and he had to have been kind of setting her up. I feel like maybe when Rachel came by with the cookies and that he took Ashley's side, because Rachel saw Ashley hooking up with her ex-boyfriend and cheating on her dad, and she told her dad this when she stopped by with cookies, but the dad took Ashley, the stepmother's side. So it was kind of like, is he kind of setting Ashley up? And I was very suspicious of that. And then when she started blackmailing him, I was like, okay, I feel like he's going to do something. So I was very glad to see that he helped bring her down in the end. I don't know how much was planned or how much was staged type of deal, but I was just glad to see that he was part of the bringing Ashley and the ex-boyfriend down. And one of the little tidbits of this that threw me off a little bit was the lack of tattoos on Aaron's arms. I was so confused at first. And now, mind you, I do know that some shows and makeup artists cover up tattoos. I know that is a thing, because just to pull one off the top of my head, they do that with Oliver from 911. I know they cover up a lot of his tattoos, especially ones that may end up with copyright issues or don't simply fit the character. But when it comes to verticals, a lot of the actors who have tattoos tend to not cover them up, or I don't get the sense they get covered up, because you get a lot of series that involve like high school, and then you have the actors who have like tattoos, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they would not have that many tattoos if they were in school. But I tend to kind of suspend reality and be like, that's not the important part. But this one just kind of like threw me off a little bit, because I'm so used to seeing him with a tattoo on his arm. So it was like, did they cover it up, or did they just digitally get rid of it, or did he get rid of it? And I was just so confused for no apparent reason. But then there was a couple scenes where you could kind of see like tape on his arm, and it's probably because just the way it was filmed or way the shot was, they might not have been able to fully digitally edit it out, but it does look like they covered up his tattoo, which was very, very sad because I love getting to see his tattoos when he's on screen. But I guess it just didn't fit the character, so they probably had to cover them up. But it does always just kind of like throw me through a loop where I go, wait, I swear there was something there. And I mean, the same thing tends to happen from time to time when I'm watching TV shows too. If I know an actor has a tattoo and suddenly it disappears when they're on the show, and I'm like, wait, wasn't there something there? And I know, like I said, I know covering up and removing tattoos is a thing, but it always throws me when I just go, I'm so used to seeing wait, where'd it go? I don't think I've really noticed or seen them covered up before in one of these series, or it just might be one of those things where I might not have known it was covered up type of thing too, because some of them might have been covered up, and unless you actually see a photo of the actor that has the tattoo, you don't know. It was just one of those things that just threw me off a little bit. But I guess, like I said, if it doesn't fit the character or they need to hide it for specific reasons, I totally get that. And to be honest with you, they did a really good job covering that up and digitally like editing it out to make it look like it was never there, or however they did it to cover it up. They did a really good job, because had I not known he had the tattoo, I would never have known there was a tattoo there. So if you were watching this series for the first time without knowing Aaron from anything else, you wouldn't know it was there, if that makes sense. And to get back into the series, one of the things I do know that I kept wanting to do is smack the both of them, because I'm just like, can you two just admit you love each other? Especially when Rachel was telling Logan at the end there that she needed to leave, that her father told her that they needed to end things. I was like, why don't you just tell him that you love him and see what he says? Because she didn't really say I love you to him then either. She was more or less hoping that he would say it first. But I think if she was to have said, I love you, he might have been more willing to say it back then. And I think the two of them were just kind of playing chicken a little bit, waiting for the other one to kind of say it first. And it ended up being bad for both of them because it split them up in the end. And it wasn't until Rachel was leaving that Logan finally said, I need to tell her how I feel. If she doesn't feel the same way, then she can leave. But I need her to know that I love her before she leaves. Just at the same time, I understand that it would take away from the drama a little bit if they were to say, I love you too soon in this type of series. But sometimes I just want to smack them and just be like, just say it already. You both love each other. You both want to say it. Just say it, you know? But you don't get that dramatic I love you at the end if the two say they love each other too soon, and always need the dramatic I love you, which I think is also kind of like a staple for Hallmark movies too, is always the, oh, I love you at the very end, or the very end of the episode is that kiss between the main characters. So I think that's like a Hallmark staple when it comes to like their movies, is the big dramatic I love you at the end with a kiss. So this one is definitely a 9 out of 10 on a rating scale because I really enjoyed it. I'd watch it again, mostly because I love watching series with Rebecca and Aaron. They, like I said, have really great chemistry and love their series. I would watch, The Ultimate Fight for Love and The Pax Doctor again if I could, but they're interactive, so it's a little bit harder to rewatch those ones. But I do hope that Rebecca and Aaron do have more series coming out soon or in the future. Because like I said, love getting to watch them together. I think I've said that multiple times, and I'm sorry that I've said it repeatedly like that. But they're good. And, when couples who work well together and have really great chemistry continue to have series together, it's always fun to watch. And when it comes to watching actors act together again, I always love that. And it doesn't happen as much with TV shows or movies. So when, actors who were on a series together for a long time branch off or go to a new series and then end up acting together again. I'm always like, yay, I love this. I want to see this. But because there are so many series and because there's not always that opportunity, you don't see it as much. So it's really nice to get to see that in the vertical format of these actors working together in multiple projects and or starring together multiple times on different verticals and series. So I love when that happens, and you don't get to see it a lot on a TV show because there's so many actors out there and there's not always that opportunity for that to happen. So I love that about verticals, that they all kind of work together and they, get to star in multiple projects. It always makes me happy to go like, oh yay, they're starring in another project together. I love it. So I'm a sucker for that. So this has been Backstage Love, which is on DramaPops, and I highly recommend it. Really cute. It's definitely enemies to lovers. It's great. Has a little drama. It's fun. I love it. Absolutely love it. So this has been my vertical obsession. Until next time.